Hello and welcome. It is the 14th day of August 2019. All bets, trades, and of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. My name is Derek. Let's take a look at gold, silver, and the cryptocurrencies, particularly in that of Bitcoin. So within gold, today's session, which is Wednesday, closed up about 1% or up $15 after yesterday on Tuesday. It was down $9 or 3/5. But yesterday's session had an outside day. After it had an outside double day before that. For the high in here was most highs not seen in a significant period of time, getting above the Fibonacci level at a high at 1535. And its low yesterday coming in at 1480 was lows not seen since the breakout in here. It followed today's session again up pretty nice. So what does this mean on the shorter term time frame on the single hour? This was the decent sized decline yesterday. Price action coming down again to the 1480. But then as it came up in, in the consolidation mode, how does it react to it? Well, it establishes resistance, established support. It has to break one side or the other. It broke it to the upside. Price action here on this 10-hour timestamp this morning came back to where it came from. This low in here was 1505. We can see was this resistance, and then making it up to this fib and just hanging in there right now within the 18 average of highs. Meanwhile, on the more longer term point of view, on the weekly chart, just having its normal breakout from a key level. It's already made it to this one. Okay, now what? Question mark is how I label this. Yeah, now what? I don't know what's next. Because we're at an area where we're supposed to find resistance. And short term, as we can see, it did find a little bit here, and we're finding maybe a bit more. But long term, I'm not using the 3 hour to determine how strong this resistance level would be. I still don't know. I'm going to have to keep on adjusting to the message of the market. I realize if there's going to be any corrections, level one area is about 1420. That's just a small one, a little bit of one. It would probably it could meet up maybe within the 18 on the weekly if it comes back, maybe sometime around Labor Day. Maybe it might reach to the in here with the 18 average. A more deeper correction would be between 1354 and a pierce below the 1321. As if it's going to come back to where we came from here, well, that's where it would be. If we don't find resistance here, I'm looking for the 1669 to be the next level and probably make it there relatively quickly as well if we're not going to find much long-term resistance there. So if we're going to find it quickly on the long term, well, that means probably before the end of the month. And on the monthly chart so far, right now we got 15 days. Right now it's up 7.42%. And if it goes up to this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it does reach it by the end of the month. Now, I'm not predicting that it's going to go there. Again, that now what question mark situation. The more it can hold and stay in this area and just congest here, that's a bullish sign in itself. But just congesting there doesn't mean it's going to break above there, as we're going to soon see with Bitcoin. With silver, 17 and a quarter US almost, and a very powerful outside day yesterday as well, as this made it to highs at 17 and a half, not seen in quite some time. And quite not quite or quite some time would take us back to I guess in here, January of 2018. And the let's take a look at this on the shorter term. Yeah, there's that quick move within the three anyway. Consolidates within the lows. Then it rallies up. Now it's consolidating within the highs on the single hour term time frame. Again, coming back to where we came from on this 10-hour timestamp, this low comes in at 17047, where this high is 17038, close enough to that general ballpark area. So far, holding it well within this move, showing yeah, this is a failed break or sell off, at least amongst the terms that are within it, are the move, which I guess would be the 8 hour and particularly that of the daily, which means it could very easily have forward or continuation upside higher. And I should go back to that daily just again because as we can see, this move coming back, this holding for a few days, how it's lifting off after the outside day, that to me is a relatively strong signal. And then getting and holding it for a significant amount for today's session, and today will now become Thursday. So holding and staying above like 1708 for the entire day, but most important within such, seeing further momentum coming above 17 and a third, which should tell us that we are not done this rally higher that we're seeing on the 3 day and of course on the weekly as well. Monthly chart, as I've mentioned, this is the first time since back in here and only the second time since the market reversed that has got above the 18 average of highs. It still hasn't got above it that much, but it has. And well, I really, really would like to see this hold on any correction about $16 if it's going to top down. But this thing could just keep on going. We could have a straight move up to 21, and I'll be saying, okay, now what? We should resist here. If we don't, even though I got 31 on there, if we don't resist 21, I'd be thinking at least a move up to this 26. And I've been thinking for years, we're going to come back to 26, and it hasn't yet. It almost did in August of 2013, coming back to 25 and 11 or 25.11, but it is yet to come back and test this level of major support, which was basically 26 even along the way. Now let's move it on to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Barely over 10,000 now, having a significant decline of 7 and 2/3% on Wednesday after it lost 4.7%. And for the week so far, down 12 and 2/3. As it really is, this period number five of really staying in within the 18, and still more in particular within the 18 average of highs. The 18 average of lows comes in at 9,000, and looking like we are having another test of 98.14. This time it is right now pierced above it, but it most certainly can very easily do such. But overall, it's within the sideways range that I talk about. Okay, this is test number 4 of this general area. Test number 1 occurred on July the 2nd. Test number 2 was July the 15th, leaving it on the 18th. And then test number 3 was July 24th, exiting it on July 31st. So I guess because we're pierced above it now, I'm going to consider this test number 4. Test number 3 of this resistance, it tried to test it. It came close to piercing below, I guess. I mean, this is too much of a differential. Maybe you can call this a monstrous pierce lower, a lower high. Regardless, either way, it's still in that sideways consolidation. We take a look at this on a shorter term time frame, and I'll use the Binance Tether exchange to do such. I got these two lines in from this high and this low, and we can see how it did a lot of resisting there. 8 hour, nothing really much in here, but we take a look at some of the shorter term. We're going to see a lot at this 10668. But we did see a lot of congestion in at this resistance here. And as mentioned, below this line in here is bearish, above is bullish, and in between is neutral. So after being in bearish territory for quite some time, when did this establish the Fibonacci right in here? So yeah, during this bearish time in here, it wasn't able to get out of it from this bottom point of the 16th until August the 2nd. So it spent the last half of July trying to get out of the bearish sentiment of the correctionary mode. And it has spent from that point getting above it, which was again on August the 2nd. It came up on, it took 3 days to test getting out of neutrality. It resisted this again for a while, but it obviously wasn't able to succeed or pass that test. It actually flunked it. And then after congesting in here, this neutral territory, we've seen that there was really no support at this level last night at 2100 hours. And it resisted it for a couple of periods, and then majorly doing it for the first of really three times. 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Significant leg lower here at 5 o'clock from this one. And then the second one of resisting this level. And then here, although it was a major pierce below, this is where it came up to this point. Huge, huge sell off. And now decently from that 10,000 and 2/3 area, pretty much closer to 10,000 even in at 10,141. So again, within this sideways consolidation, it's turned into bearish within a neutral mode. The neutral mode is bearish, and until it breaks this, it means uh, it's got a test. It's still in this actual mode of a sideways consolidation. Breaking down below here, well, I would expect significant further declines if 9100 is breached. Now switching it over to the weekly term time frame. When we take Fibonacci from 20,000 and these lows at about 200, we'll just say, for even. Let me just take a look at these lows. What's the best lows to choose in here? 200 even, yeah. 220,000 and the number 20,000. Number 20,000. So 20,000 divided by 200 is 100. 100 to the root, I'm just going to do like this. 100 to the root of 0.6183 multiply 200, and then to the root of 38.2. Well, 34.44, 61.8% level, has been holding the entire time. Let's put that line in there. And amongst it, that's keeping it bullish. So from the very, very, very long term, from this low to this high, this sell-off did nothing to eliminate its bearish move, to eliminate out of the bullish move rather. In fact, it didn't even go down and test the neutrality level. That is in at the 1162 mark. So now as far from point high to point low, well, those are the Coinbase levels that I've already gotten drawn in already. Which means everything in betweening 6,300 and this is neutral. Below here is bearish. So as this was breaking down, as I mentioned before, long time in here, we break 6,000, we're going to 3. Well, it kind of did. And being in a bear market, it stayed in the bear market up until it broke out in May of this year, entering neutral. And then the attempt to put it bullish on June, well, it's so far it hasn't failed it yet. Even with its pullback, it hasn't done so. It's still correcting nicely within its 18 average. So the overall long-term time frame versus the short-term, it's just all that choppy retracement type of action that you expect to get. Overall, we're finding out the decision within this run where we go from here, because as I mentioned on the daily, this is a sideways consolidation from its primary move up, which is the attempting to put this from bearish to neutral to bullish. And in staying in this, then it's just consolidating in it. And we wait for the break of either side, but long term it's the exact same thing right now. And I guess the weekly will work best for it. But everything in this range in here, between close to 20,000 and this 33,000 level. It's part of the sideways move that preceded this up move. And while that's in play, when I have a big point A low, big point B high, and then correcting like this, well, if it breaks this resistance, I expect a decent leg higher. And amongst this time frame, I've already calculated that to be 60,000 and then 300,000 as some key areas after that. But breaking down below here, I've already calculated it's 1,000 coming back to where we came from here and this point in here from the earlier calculations. So basically, a 3x move is what I would expect, regardless of the breakout side. We are closer to the upper end, of course, of this level than we are in here. And because it's had a phenomenal move, if we take a look at this, I'll remove the drawings but put it back on the more longer term time frame. We have on the monthly chart here the 18 average of highs at 83, 18 average of lows at 58, and holding. Yeah, if that's 6,000, that's why I say this is the time now. If 6,000 fails, that is not good. Like it's the absolute must hold area. And people are going to be, they might be getting nervous now that it might be going down below 10. And they'll most certainly, a lot of people will get nervous at 8. And I'm always going to be cautious that it's going to be like, okay, please work for me. But I realize that it's not a surprise. That I mean, it doesn't have to, but it wouldn't be a surprise if it were to come back to like 63, 64. Then lift off higher from there on a bullish level. That makes sense. But it also makes sense from where we're standing. They have two really pathetic updates. I gotta call it for what it is. If I'm gonna say something's got a beautiful high volatile move, I gotta look at its polar opposite. And these two up moves were just that. But it is what it is. I mean, it's better than going down from a bullish level. But after two weak up moves, it had two okay ones, 28% up and then 62. And really, 62% is okay when you have like back in here 450%. You had 54 and it's good. It's good. 60 was good. And then this move in here, which was a 25% move. Well, three of them in a row together like that. Very good. So last one was a hold. We're now halfway through. We're just continuation doing what we did last month so far. And again, as I mentioned, as long as price action stays really for the most part between like 987, 8900, really anything above the 18 average of highs, really, to this established high of 13,000 high change, even piercing above at like 14.5, is just keeping this in a sideways mode from those three moves up because it went from 4,000 to 13 high pretty much straight up, like $9,500 or 220 plus percent with very little resisting it until now, of course. But it's showing that move to be that sideways move. So that's again where 6,000. Okay, so if we give a little bit of it back, that's about the most that you'd want to give it back to that sum. But if we follow through and this thing starts to go up, okay, no surprise. And I would guess that if it starts going up now and breaks resistance, that my best guess is if we get from here where we are now to 20,000, that we'd be more likely to have like a move to say, well, what would be that would be half off. We would be more likely to go to 40,000 compared to say, well, 10,000. Whatever there's a good chance that this just may not be as strong of resistance, given how it has played out from this point on since. But right now, it still has to get to that level, and of course, short term, it has been getting its ass kicked, and a lot of the other coins have been as well. When looking at Bitcoin dominance, the session was actually an up day. So Bitcoin overperformed altcoins after Bitcoin in a losing spot for Bitcoin. So coins like LITECOIN down from this high, from the April 4th high, and really from even a quicker point of view from this June high, losing 100 of the 177 basis points that it had, or 60 plus percent down in really a quick period of time. But that's the volatility, of course, on the cryptocurrency markets. You know, you got to expect this type of movements in this game. So for me to see that at any time it could just shoot right back up, or if it's going to continue down further to the 005, Well, that's what it's going to do, whatever it's going to do on this nature. But the downtrend, of course, hasn't ended. And it was a very volatile day today, especially here. And I only made one trade today, which is unfortunate. It really is. It kind of sucks. Actually, I made two trades, rather. But I flipped one thing back and forth, like fast. I ended up making a trade here, buying Litecoin, and I sold Ripple to get it. But this move was fast. So I seen it, I took it, I was like, yeah, it's an easy play. I got to sell Ripple to buy Litecoin. And then a few moments later, as we can see, Litecoin came back up. But this big decline happened before Ripple had its big decline happening. So we take a look at what time this happened at. This happened at 12:28. And crossing over to Ripple, this happened at 13:04. So it just worked out that the ratio is like, wow. I mean, I just noticed later, like moments, like, oh my goodness. Let me just bring you the Ripple Litecoin ratio now. This is how it looked. I right down here. It was. I mean, I think it was like 260 or 270. I got around 270 and then 300 on the way back up, something like that. It was 271.44 on the low end and a hair above 300 back up here. And I'll just wait again because 300 down at 288. That's only a difference of 12 basis points. That's like 4% ish. But that's how it happened to look. So interesting move to say the least. But that's pretty much all I've traded today, which kind of sucks. On the daily chart, it just continues, and I haven't really traded. And it's interesting that this is what I traded because this is like one of my boringest trades. And I might have made. Did I make an earlier trade with Bitcoin Cash? I can't remember actually. I don't think I did. But lately, I haven't made as many trades. There hasn't been as much volatility that I like to see. But you know what it is? What it is. I do realize that these things do have long-term movements that will work out. But when they're just staying within the 18 band like this, it's just a wait for it to leave it. That's not much more else you can do, at least in my game that I'm playing it. But from 76 up here to 362, I can get a better ratio. What I'll do is I'll take let's do Poloniex divided by Poloniex, which would be Ripple. So it looks about the same there, but we want to take a look at this on the weekly to get more data. And this is just beautiful up and down, choppy action. At least up in here, you have the support in here. You've had a lot of resistance up here, but you go from 872 down to 370, and you just keep at it. If you can get several years at this back and forth, then I believe the gains should work out very, very well, especially if you're really good at getting uh, the better of the deals and whichever strategies you might use to get better results. But overall, just playing the game for the highs and the lows this way can work out really well. For we can just see it in this case here on December the 11th. This thing went from like, and it could probably was even higher than that, the 878, down to like 75. Well, that's because Litecoin started its rally off early and Ripple had its rally after that, which is why it happened to look like that. So when coins have individual moves where they're going to rally here and there, and then most of the times the bigger sell-offs will come after rallies for coins, then that's going to make these types of fluctuations move pretty wild. And I'll finish it off within my favorite cross, which is Litecoin and Theta. Although I like Litecoin DG or Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash as well, only because I think those are two coins that I think will do well long term. And long term is like 2 years, 3 years. But that's my belief and my bet because I'm making my risk reward based on such. But as far as this one's concerned, it's spent a lot of time up around the 1,000 mark. sold off in here. And then when you get moves like this, if you could take advantage of it, you only have a quick opportunity probably to trade down here on this one particular day at 700. But a minute came back up to 800 and you could flip it back and forth. Now it's congesting and consolidating within that price range area. We had this thing at like 300 here. Just up and down, choppy action is what I want to see amongst this. And yeah, just keep at it. Which means if you got, yeah, you get 1,000 days doing it, 500 days, 1,500 days. The amount of gains you can have by playing through these types of choppy up and down movements are fantastic. And to think, okay, are they going to stop? Is this thing just going to be boring sideways move, or is it going to be one coin really dominating the other one? Most likely because the other one gets its ass kicked, and it goes like way up or way down. Way up because Theta gets its ass kicked. Way down because Litecoin gets its ass kicked, and then you actually can lose on the deal because technically in ratio trading, if say for example hypothetically if Theta just does really bad in the long term, this thing is going to go way up and it's going to go to like 10,000 whatever, and you're going to have a whole bunch of Theta coins, but you could have 10 times more coins with value 20 times lower, and you're actually losing on the deal. And you're going to have a lot less of the Litecoin, which might be doing good. And of course, vice versa for any of the other ways as well. But more times than not, especially if you're finding coins together that uh, the one that both don't they both don't go way down or they both don't lose long term kind of deal, that you're going to have movements that will end up in time, long term, just really fluctuating with a good up and down, volatile, choppy board. Where at times, oh, Theta looks like it's kicking ass, and the next time, months or years, a year later, oh, the Litecoin looks like it's kicking ass. Well, that's just what way it's going to be, because in ratio trading, again, when you go from like point high to point low, you're going to look at how many Theta you had here and how many Litecoin you own compared to here. What a big difference! You don't own anywhere near as many Theta here as you did here because you've been selling it. Majority of your trades in here would be sells of Theta and buys of Litecoin. Yeah, there'd be maybe a couple depending on how many trades along the way you'd have because of the up and down choppy movements, but you'd be having a lot less Theta than the Litecoin. But when this all happens again in here, oh, look at all the Litecoin and look at the little Theta you had here. Well, now it's the opposite. Look at all the Litecoin you. We'll finish it off by showing the 3-day, and I'll thank you for tuning into this video, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.